Bret Lessman is currently the Enterprise Organizational Development Manager for United Launch Alliance, the rocket design, development, and launch joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin based in Centennial. Lessman has over 20 years of experience in the strategic design, development, and evaluation of large-scale complex change management and organizational learning engagements. His focus is on leveraging the human element in support of enterprise-wide business transformation initiatives and aligning senior leadership and driving successful change projects. He's held senior leadership positions in Hewlett-Packard Company, Siemens, Siemens AG and IXOS Software AG, where he served as chairman of the board for IXOS Software USA. He has also led international change strategies while living more than a decade abroad, and has expertise in understanding cultural norms and differences and facilitating organizational development synergies across international boundaries. Lessman holds a bachelor's degree in business management and a master's degree in consulting, coaching, and change management in a joint program with Oxford University, United Kingdom, and HEC Business School, Paris, France. He's currently serving an Oxford University alumni board focusing on leadership development. He has served as a consultant to the Louvre and Louvre Museum in Paris, France, in facilitating a major organizational change project. He is currently serving on an advisory board of the Iliff School of Theology, and he has served as an instructor for Colorado State University's distance learning program. He's an on-call consultant and facilitator to the Fort Collins Sustainability Group, which has a good presence here in Fort Collins, a community organization dedicated to building the practical community sustainability practices. Lessman is a Betcher Scholar and is a member of the Betcher Alumni Foundation, Denver, Colorado.
Well, thank you, Bruce. And once again, it's great to be in front of all of you. And thank you for the professional background and explanation of kind of what I've done and why I'm here. But before I get started, I'd like to thank, first of all, the event architects. And if I got this right, if I left anyone off, let me know. Northern Colorado Business Report, both cities of Loveland and Fort Collins, Colorado State University, CSU Ventures, One Tribe Creative, and last but not least, the Bohemian Foundation. So thank you, event architects, for thinking of a business organization and United Launch Alliance to be a part of what I think is a really exciting symposium. And also thank you to the many sponsors who have also contributed probably all kinds of support in bringing this to happen and to market. You heard kind of an introduction of my professional and educational background. I also like to get to know people on a personal level. And I'd like to share just a couple things about why I have such a passion and interest in alignment in Northern Colorado. Well, I live between the cities of Loveland and Fort Collins, Colorado, on Taft Hill Road. In fact, we're the last housing development as you go down Taft Hill Road on the way to Loveland. So I'm very proud to be a citizen of Northern Colorado. And I really think that that's more and more we see convergence between the cities of Fort Collins, Greeley, Loveland, Windsor, all coming together in kind of a regional approach to address some of the challenges we have as communities, as educational institutions, and businesses. I'm also rooted in Northern Colorado. I graduated. Anybody hear of a little northeastern town called Brush, Colorado? You hear the beet diggers? The beet diggers? Yeah, I graduated. I'm a Brush beet digger. I moved here when I was a junior in high school and was very proud of graduating from Brush. I attended undergraduate school at the University of Northern Colorado. My wife, that beautiful lady you saw earlier come up and make a couple of comments, graduated from CSU and also the University of Colorado Health Sciences Center in Denver. I mentioned that my son is a music major at the University of Colorado, Denver. I think we've got a lot of academic institutions covered just by my immediate family. And I'm very proud and pleased that I'm with members of the community as well as members of educational institutions and organizations, because we, as a partnership, are going to make things happen and ensure that we retain competitiveness of our most important asset, our people. So with that kind of brief introduction, oh, and before I forget, I got to tell you, I have a brother that lives in Windsor, I have a brother that lives in Greeley, and I have a sister that lives in Fort Morgan, okay? So I've got northern and northeastern Colorado pretty well covered. And again, it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you all today. When I was told I was going to be giving a speech over the lunch or right after lunch, I thought, I can't compete with that, okay? So I brought along a video. Anyone interested in watching a video? Yeah, you don't want to hear me speak anymore, right? You just want to see the video. Okay. Well, the video I selected is about a 4-minute video, and it's titled What We Believe. And it's about United Launch Alliance. And United Launch Alliance is the joint venture of Boeing and Lockheed Martin. It's been in business for 5.5 years. And our business is to support the U.S. government and our country to make sure the satellites that NASA and other organizations launch get to outer space and deploy appropriately. So our company merged 5 years ago. 5.5 years ago, I joined 6 months into it as the organizational development manager, and my job was to make them work together. Now, can you imagine two bitter rivals? Boeing and Lockheed Martin had their independent rocket businesses, were brought together under a joint venture, and my job is to make them work. Well, I'll share a few stories of the journey that we've been on. But what I'd like to share with you is a video that kind of gives you a sense of what we do and what we believe in.
And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the first space-based infrared systems mission for the United States Air Force.
Reliably delivering capabilities for our nation on schedule and on budget is our #1 priority. It's not about the smoke and fire. It's about our national security, communications, precision navigation, weather, missile warning and intelligence gathering for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines.
And liftoff of the Atlas V with Juno on a trek to Jupiter.
It's about groundbreaking science and exploration that change the way we view ourselves and the universe. It's about delivering capabilities that move the human race forward.
Atlas and Delta rockets supported our nation since the beginning of the space program, and I am proud to work for a company that has contributed so much.
Every day we strive to be the aerospace leader by delivering mission success and best value for the nation, and experience matters.
Our team brings more than 50 years of technical expertise and innovation to the products and services we deliver. We have launched some of our nation's greatest accomplishments in space, both manned and unmanned, including the Mercury missions on Atlas that delivered the first Americans to orbit, the GPS navigation systems on Delta II, and the missions that defend our freedoms and improve the way we live.
And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Delta IV rocket carrying WGS-4 for the United States Air Force.
Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas.
We believe in providing launch solutions that safely and reliably deliver our nation's most precious payloads, from the capability to launch crew and cargo to sending spacecraft to the farthest reaches of our solar system.
It's fantastic to work with committed, smart, innovative people that embrace challenges and push the boundaries of what's possible.
Our customers have varying requirements, but we have the team to take them wherever they need to go.
We believe in continuous improvement from the design center in Colorado to the factory floors in Alabama and Texas to the launch sites in Florida and California.
At ULA, we're not satisfied with good enough. We believe in delivering a perfect product and a great service. Anything else is unacceptable. Lives are depending on it.
We believe in being a good corporate citizen by giving back to our communities and inspiring the next generation of rocket scientists by supporting science, technology, engineering, and math education initiatives.
We've created a culture that values investing our time and resources in communities across the nation.
Community involvement is a fundamental part of who we are.
We believe in being ready to launch when our customers are ready to launch.
Our country depends on the work that we do, so we are committed to completing multiple operations at multiple launch sites to ensure that we deliver.
At United Launch Alliance, we believe our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines deserve our best. Our nation deserves our best.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got a sense for what we do, but more importantly, why we do it. I'd like to read directly from what you published, the architects of this symposium. And this is directly from your paper that you put out. The business of carbon reduction for this symposium is focused on strategies and systems associated with transportation, energy, and educating the next generation of our workforce to be prepared to enter into a rapidly changing world. Thank you for understanding how whatever you're doing really is all about people, and it's all about the workforce. No matter what product or service you deliver, at the end of the day, it's all about the people. And there's a great study that goes on annually every year. You ever hear of the Fortune magazine and the greatest places to work? Well, there's a company that consistently is in the top 5, and it's called SAS Software. And the CEO of SAS Software is Jim Goodnight. Jim Goodnight, okay? And they were #1 in the most recent survey. And he's also featured on their book that they published about the most successful companies. Which companies do employees really want to work for? And he's quoted by saying the following. He said, 95% of my assets walk out the door each night. It's my job to bring them back. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? Of course, I have a CEO that thinks like that, okay? Wouldn't it be wonderful if all of our leaders really thought and really lived the value of really putting our people first and educating our people is the most important asset in the company? Well, because that's what I'd really like to focus on throughout the rest of my presentation. Just to let you know where we are in the United States, our corporate headquarters are located in Centennial. We have launch facilities in Cape Canaveral, Air Force Station in Florida, as well as Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Our rockets get manufactured in Decatur, Alabama. And we also have small support organizations in Harlingen, Texas, and Pueblo, Colorado. We just recently opened a small office with about 6 people in Washington, D.C. because they're a customer. And we have to have people that are working with directly our customers day to day, really understanding what their needs are and making sure we're supporting their needs. So just a sense for where we are. And the agenda today, and I'll run through this pretty crisply. I got a lot to say, but I'm going to say it quickly and hopefully with a lot of passion. The other thing I was impressed with when I read the agenda and the spirit and the philosophy that was put together is you use the word systems approach many times. And I applaud you, because a systems approach was first, I think, coined by Peter Senge in the book Fifth Discipline in 1990. And he said, you know, we're all here to be part of learning organizations. And let me quote Peter Senge. He said, people continually need to expand their capacity to create results they truly desire, where new expansive patterns of thinking are nurtured, where collective aspiration is set free, and where people are continually learning to see the whole together. Systems thinking is the cornerstone of the learning organization. I think we can learn from that. And I really applaud the cities of Loveland, Fort Collins, and the community really coming together and taking a systems approach, because that's the first thing I briefly want to talk about. You know, my job essentially as an organizational development manager of United Launch Alliance is to make the organization successful and to improve its performance. And so the first thing I did when I sat down with the CEO after I was hired, was to really understand exactly what he wanted from an OD manager. And what we agreed on was, these are the sort of things that most successful organizations look to and address. It's not just all about strategy. Many people would argue it starts there. Well, it may. But the point about systems thinking, and why I was impressed about the philosophical approach that you've taken here, is it's up to us to understand the interconnectedness and the interdependencies that exist between the communities, between education, between business. And it's the same model that I take a look at in really ensuring that United Launch Alliance is successful. And in fact, the first thing that I did for Michael Gass, our CEO, was to go out and do an action research project on those bullets. At the end of the day, a successful company has to address all of those: strategy, structure, processes, people, leadership, and culture. My personal passion is really all about people and leadership and culture. Those are the three things that, you know, on any one day, I'm working in all of those, but also working as a consultant in the other three. So congratulations and kudos to taking a systems approach. It is the key to success. And I'll share with you how I kind of view a potential model to approach this whole interconnectedness and interdependencies between education, between communities, and between businesses. What's the business rationale? I mean, why would the CEO invest a day of my time to come up here and be part of this? Well, it's because we care. And it's because we find it valuable and of value to us. And in fact, educational and community partnerships are more and more becoming critical to our long-term sustainable success. And some of the reasons why it is part of our rationale, it is in our DNA, our corporate values. Corporate citizenship is a company value. I'll talk about what that really is. Our people, they are our competitive differentiator. Rockets don't launch themselves. Processes enable the rocket, but our people are the ones that build, design, and enable, and ultimately launch rockets. And human capital management is becoming more and more a very important component of our business. So it behooves us to create partnerships. And I'm going to talk about some of the partnerships we've already created. And Governor Ritter, it's great to see you today, and thank you for your leadership in getting us involved in a couple of state efforts that I'll talk about in a minute. So it is critical to our success because we share in the success of the future together. So at a very high level, it's time for us to get out of our silos and to think together. How can communities, education, and business work together? And something as simple as a Venn diagram can help us. Because where there's intersection and where there's common interests and where there is those interdependencies and connections, let's talk about them. You know, I've worked closely with Colorado State University and Gary Kaler. Gary, you in the room right now, Doctor? Thank you for your leadership in promoting some partnerships I'm going to talk about. And I saw you on Channel 14 the other night with the city manager of Fort Collins, and I'd like to quote you. You said, if we're going to do anything, we need a plan. And what, Gary? What's the second part of that? Work the plan. So what is the intersection of that Venn diagram? Let's figure it out together. And I'd like to share a few thoughts, because at the end of the day, we're going to figure out that intersection point by communicating, understanding where we can work together, by collaborating on actions that are going to make a difference, and ultimately improving our long-term competitiveness. And it's not just about people. It's also about our communities and our educational institutions themselves. I mentioned that it all starts with what we believe in. Our video is actually titled, What We Believe. And when we first got started as a company, one of the first things we did And one of the roles that I played as a facilitator is, what's your mission, what's your vision, what's your values, what's your strategy? Those are all things important to any organization, whether you're for-profit or nonprofit or you're an academic institution. If you don't understand who you are now, why do you exist? That's your mission. If you don't know where you're going, vision, or if you don't know what you believe in, your values. So this wheel also is a systems thinking approach to values. The best definition I ever heard of values was about 10 years ago when I was at a conference. They said, you know, values are those core set of beliefs that guide and govern your behavior. Isn't that a wonderful statement? Is your values are those set of core beliefs that guide and govern your behavior. And so if you really are going to be guided or governed by your beliefs, you better articulate them. And so around the spokes of the wheel, we value corporate citizenship. We value leadership, customer focus, teamwork, our people, diversity and inclusion, which is a huge opportunity for us. And I'll speak to the changing demographic workplace. It's not just a skills issue we're facing. It's also a rapidly changing, to use your words in your report, a systems approach to the environment that we're in and the rapidly changing demographics. And I'll share with you what we view as some of the most important demographic challenges to address. Finally, quality and innovation and continuous improvement. Those are all values. I'd like to focus a little bit more on two of the values that are going to be woven into the rest of the presentation together. This is actually straight off our value set. I didn't create this for this session. That's why we're here. We value partnering with communities for mutual benefit. We contribute to communities through volunteer work and financial support. I'll share some of the specific things we do. And at the end of the day, it's all about promoting the well-being of who we work with, our families, and our communities by providing a safe workplace and protecting our environment. I mentioned Governor Ritter had Michael Gass and Matt Smith, who's our Vice President of Engineering, serve on a very important state project devoted to teacher development and measuring outcomes. And it was a fascinating opportunity for us to contribute. And to quote Matt Smith, our Vice President, I sat down and got his perspective on things. He said, well, please tell the group that our company, United Launch Alliance, we're obligated as being part. We're responsible for the communities in which we live. We can't say that any more clear or with any extra passion. We also value our people. And at the end of the day, education, who are we educating? It's our most important human asset, our children and our college students. And then once we get them into organizations, the continuous learning. We need to create a lifelong learning strategy that builds off of a solid foundation built in the K through 12, that's supported by our universities and colleges and our junior colleges. Any organization that is brought together to support the advancement of the human element deserves a gold star in my book. And we need to support them. Because at the end of the day, if we're not providing our employees with the KSAs, those are knowledge, skills, and abilities, and equipping them to deal with this rapidly changing world we're in, we're not going to be competitive. So these are some of the business challenges and opportunities that we have with people competitiveness. Yes, we've got to develop our people. We've got to understand the shifting workforce demographics. We got to build the right culture. And last but not least, we got to make sure we have a long-term human capital plan that sustains the development of our people. Next thing I'd like to share with you is, if those are some of our challenges that we have, what are we doing about it? So what are some of the current strategies that we have in support of the education of our workforce? And then later I'll talk about what we're doing to support the community and where we're partnering with the community. And last but not least, I'll talk about sustainability, because just as we're trying to build sustainable communities in which people can thrive both in terms of their lives as well as their work, we also have to build sustainable companies within those communities. Okay, now you're getting Bret Lessman's little 2-minute tutorial on culture and how knowledge and skills and abilities play into culture. And because I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to go through this real quickly. But from my experience, on the empowerment side, what I'm trying to do as the organizational development manager in United Launch Alliance is to create an environment where people act with confidence, conviction, and authority. Let me say that one more time. With confidence, conviction, and authority in getting their jobs done. Okay? Well, confidence is all about, do you feel like you're equipped with the knowledge, skills, and abilities? And that's what I want to reinforce as my main message, is you can't build self-esteem, you can't build ambition, you can't build a person's connection unless they feel confident with what they have as a skill set. So that is the foundation of empowering employees. Yes, you need to align the belief structures, and yes, you need to provide the resources. And I have managers coming into my office all the time. How do I empower people? Well, do those three things. Well, now how do I engage them? And is engagement different than empowerment? Absolutely. You know, engagement is described by the experts as those individuals, when they come to work, they aren't asleep at the wheel, but they are displaying discretionary effort. Discretionary effort is what is going to help the businesses who are going to be successful in the future sustain themselves. If you've got people walking in fired up, and you're able to align their personal values with the meaning of the organization, you're on your way to engagement. If you're able to create a set of shared values around what you're trying to do, you're going to create an environment and a culture that people believe in. And last but not least, help people understand how their goals are aligned. If I asked you in the room a question, how do you motivate people? Anyone like to holler out words or thoughts? Come on, help me out here. How do you motivate people? Days off. Good. Others? Money. Pardon? Money. Money. Huh, really? Money? Okay. What else? Appreciation. What else? Recognition. What else? Okay, you got the answer. It only took about 5 or 6 of you. I was a shadow consultant when I worked for Siemens Corporate, and we went out and we talked to employees across the globe, and we tried to answer the question, how do you motivate people? There's two top reasons, 2 things that really motivate most employees in any organization. The number one motivator for people is a person's perception of their contribution to the organization. Why is that important? Because people equate their contribution with their value, with esteem. The second most motivating thing is a person's perception of their manager's perception of their contribution. Let me say that again. The second most motivating thing is a person's perception of their manager's perception of their contribution. It's all about recognition. And who said results in contribution and those sort of things over here somewhere? Everybody raise your hand. That's how you motivate people. Because at the end of the day, if you empower and engage people, you have a multiplier effect. And if you haven't read the book, The Multiplier, go get it. It's a great book. Because maximum productivity comes from multiplying empowerment engagement, and empowerment is the foundation, and the foundation of empowerment are the skills, knowledge, and abilities of our workforce. I'm already giving away some of the things we're working with Gary on in CSU Engineering School, who is already a key partner of ours. The CSU Engineering School uses the U.S. Department of Labor competency model to build their engineering curriculum around. And due to Gary's outreach to us, we've had several meetings. Dr. John Tarp, who is our engineering, he works in the engineering organization, he's our knowledge management manager, is our college ambassador to Colorado State University Engineering School, working directly with Gary. And what we're really using is the U.S. Department of Labor competency model to really make sure we got 3 skills in our workforce. First of all, there's a set of foundational skills that are extremely critical to our success. And I won't go into those. You know, those are all things dealing with interpersonal skills to, if you're going to an engineering school, you're learning about systems engineering, mechanical engineering. And at the top are the leadership skills, which in my opinion is really becoming more and more important. to really creating sustainable companies. Because leaders create the environment. Leaders create the culture. And so if businesses aren't already operating with the Gary and CSU organizations, in these sort of organizations, they're going to lose out because we need your help. We have to collaborate with you on making sure those foundational skills and those leadership skills are being taught in our universities. Just like we want to have interest and concern and support of our public school systems that are really making sure that STEM, and as I said later, I love that word we heard earlier, STEAM, you know, don't forget about the arts, you know, coming from someone who has a son with a music major. We need your help. We have to work in partnership to really build the skills for the future. The second thing we're interested, and I'm going to go through these very quickly, is we're not only interested in building the skills of our employees, but we need to understand some of the demographic issues that exist in the workplace. I mean, just take a look at some of these facts, and they come directly from a wonderful book that was published in 2010 called Workforce 2020. I don't know if you've heard of it, but two authors, one of whom we invited to United Launch Alliance, Dr. Carrie Williard, who also is on the advisory board of Colorado State University's Business School, I understand. We invited Dr. Williard to come in, and I facilitated a discussion with Dr. Williard about some of the demographic issues that are going on and why is that important to United Launch Alliance. And she spent 2.5, 3 hours with our top 50 leaders in the company talking about the facts associated with demographics. We have an aging workforce. Our millennials, the Gen Ys, of which my son is a member, is going to be 47% of our workforce by 2014. Think about that. What does that mean in terms of educating our leaders, you know, in business schools and engineering graduate programs on how to lead Gen Y? Do you think the same thing that works for Gen Y works for a baby boomer or a traditionalist? Some not. You know, there was an article in the USA Today about 2 months ago. For the first time in the nation's history, non-Caucasian births outnumbered Caucasian births. Did you see that? For the first time in history. Are we aware of that? Are we doing anything about it in terms of really developing skills and understanding of how to manage an inclusive workforce? That's going to be very critical to us. And I'll tell you what we're doing about it. And some other facts. I didn't know what tacit meant in the context of this until I read the book. But skills are changing. You know, there are no longer transactional tasks that get done because we've outsourced a lot of those, right? Okay? Process improvements and manual automation, those are what's called transactional tasks. Tacit skills are those that are really more complex. They require problem solving, judgment, critical thinking, and analysis. You know, wow, 70% of the jobs since 1998 really require those type of skills. What are we doing in terms of the education community to really be aware of that as well? Globalization is happening. You heard of BRIC? I didn't know what BRIC was until I got educated. There's been a huge growth in number of companies now that are on the Global 500. They're not headquartered here. Guess where they are? They're in those countries. Are we aware of that? Is our competitive situation deteriorating? That, you know, global companies are going elsewhere? Well, let's be aware. How we manage information explosion. You know, John, I'm glad I don't have your job. I thought I had the toughest job, was to get rocket scientists to work together. Okay? But your job is to manage, and this is John's job, is to manage, you know, all of the information associated with managing the demographics of transfer. John, you gave me a very interesting data point that you empowered me, right, to share. And make sure I get it right. You can come up to the speaker here and say it if I don't. But is it true that about 50% of our workforce is going to retire in the next 5 to 7 years? And if you put an intellectual property dollar amount on that, you have any idea what that means in terms of dollars if we were to lose all of that overnight? Well, let me tell you, it's not a multi-7-digit number, it's an 8-digit number. So we have a challenge ahead of us, and hopefully an educational and community organization that supports us. The last thing I'll focus on, very interesting fact, 88% of new college hires will seek employers with social responsibility values that reflect their own. You don't think this is a values-oriented generation that's coming up, that cares about something more than just making, yes, money's important, and yes, you want to work for a company that's profitable? Yes, yes. But this new generation want more. They want to work for an organization that they feel pride in, that also takes responsibility for the planet and the people. You heard of the 3 Ps? The triple bottom line? That's where the leading companies are going, is they're focusing not just on profit, but they're focusing on people and planet, because we are a community. We are an international citizen at the highest level. I thought you might find this interesting, just as a data point or fact related to the millennials. How many of these, just quickly looking at these, deal with growing, developing, learning skills? These are the expectations. 47% of our workforce in 2020 are going to be demanding this from their bosses and their employers. 60-70% of those comments, bullet points, deal with helping me develop, making sure I have the skills for the future, supporting my career growth, and helping me understand my career path. So what are we doing about it? Well, we better get with it. And so we're trying to get with it. So let's talk very briefly some of the things that ULA is doing in terms of our response to these talent management, education, and development challenges. But I view challenges as opportunities. So these are the sort of things that we're doing. We're putting together an HCP, a human capital plan, that makes sure we have the skills, we understand the demographic issues, and we understand how our people feel about working for United Launch Alliance. We have got to get engaged with our educational partners, not just K through 12, K through 16. I'm going to call it K through 20 plus. And the reason I call it K through 20 plus is this is all about lifelong learning. You never stop learning. And I mentioned it in the panel remarks this morning. One of the big things I got taught from my teachers, who I treasured. When I was a kid, my teachers were my heroes. Mrs. Byer instilled in me such a sense of mathematics, but she understood why it was important, and she helped me understand the context of how mathematics could help me be successful. I got on fire about mathematics. So what can we do to help our children get on fire and discover their passion and their purpose? And a lot of the comments that you said this morning, we have got to facilitate the knowledge transfer. If we've got 50% of our workforce walking out the door in less than 6 to 7 years, we better have a knowledge transfer. We better get aggressive, and thanks to people like Gary, Kaylee from CSU, who contacted us, it just so happens I found out that John was working on a university ambassador program. I'm very proud to say that United Launch Alliance and Colorado State University has an ambassador program, and I'll tell you what that's all about. Yes, we're interested. I've put together a long-term competency model for leadership development, and our chief operating officer of a rocket company cares about building an inclusive environment. Isn't that wonderful? You think COOs have better things to do than to worry about how we're going to work together and deal with this rapidly changing demographic group that we have. We do a mentoring program. We mentor around skills. We mentor around occupations. We encourage our senior leaders to personally mentor employees. We have a robust intern program. About 50 or 60 join our intern program every year. We hire about 30 to 40. And again, Colorado State University is one of the leading suppliers the last few years of any particular year hiring. So thank you, CSU, for feeding us with the engineering and non-engineering workers. They're turning out great. And thank you for continuing the partnership. Let me talk about two specific things, and then I'll wrap up. Mentioned the College Ambassador Program. We've got this in place with CSU. We're trying to put that in place with other universities, but we really need your help. We need to recruit strong engineering and business talent into our intern program. We need your help in terms of research. One of the things that John and I facilitated, and with Gary's help, is we brought, 6 to 8 faculty members from CSU. We invited them to a half a day to 2/3 of a day. And we basically spent 2/3 of a day, CSU faculty, engineering experts, world-class talent, with our technical fellows. And the technical fellows in a rocket company are those people that have unique specialized skills in a particular area, like Atlas propulsion or Delta propulsion, right? Those are our 2 rockets, okay? My head was swimming in that room. I couldn't understand half of it because I don't have an engineering degree. But one thing I got was they recognized several opportunities to collaborate through communication, and we're starting to put action plans in place to move forward. We need your help. Thank you, CSU. Many of our senior leaders serve on board of directors. We've supported several dynamic educational programs. I'm going to talk about one in a minute. We support the United Way. We also support our employees volunteering with nonprofit organizations. We actually encourage them, and we match with every program that's selected. There's a financial contribution to the organization that they support. Now that is putting your money where your mouth is. And I'll tell you, you get people excited if you allow them to pursue their personal passion while they're also getting paid because money's important. Yes, you knew I'd get to that, right? Okay, but it's a dissatisfier if other things aren't in place. So we're trying to create a culture where our employees feel free to go out and pursue their passion. And last but not least, thank you, Governor Ritter, for involving Michael Gass, our CEO, Matt Smith, in your very important effort dealing with teachers and the classroom. And because I'm running out of time here, I just wanted to send our thanks for Michael and Matt for your allowing us to make a contribution and to give back and support the development of our teachers. How do we move forward? What's the path forward? Well, we believe in it. We're doing it. We're reaching out. You're reaching out to us. Let's really view corporate sustainability as a partnership. And it's important to us because it's one of our values. We want to contribute to the communities in which we work, but also in which we live. And let's use communities and educational resources to help us address these very crazy and wonderful opportunities we have with the skill and demographic challenges in the future. And wrapping up, you couldn't have someone from a rocket company leave without having another model, right? Or something to finish up with. In summary, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And I'd like to leave you with this model as kind of the symbol and providing kind of a visual focus for us moving forward. Because at the end of the day, it's that intersection of interdependencies and mutual responsibilities that we have as a community, as a business, as an educational community. We will engage in community outreach. We already have, we will continue. We will build relationships with educational organizations. We don't have a choice. And we welcome your expertise, counsel, wisdom, guidance in helping us prepare our employees for the future. But more importantly, something I mentioned earlier, instilling the passion to learn and a commitment to excellence. Because that's what I got out of my public school system, and that has served me well. And as a business, let's participate in things like this. Let's be a leader in living sustainability. Because at the end of the day, our business is only going to be as successful as the feeder educational organizations that provide our skills, knowledge, and talent, and as good as the health of the communities in which we live. Let's foster that long-term partnership and lifelong learning. Thank you. Thank you, the the event architects and sponsors. I really appreciate, and on behalf of Michael Gass, our CEO, and the entire employees of United Launch Alliance, thank you for the opportunity to contribute and to hopefully continue to create the path forward that you've started with this symposium. I hope there's more to come soon. Thank you very much.